Rain begins as mist, clinging to the windshield in trembling beads that scatter each sweep of the wipers. The Greyhound's diesel coughs while the driver cranes over the wheel, hunting the anonymous county road that leads to Clarksville's depot. His AM radio whispers, Johnny Cash beneath the static, but every chorus fractures whenever lightning rolls across the flatlands. Inside, fluorescent tubes buzz with a sickly pallor. Ollie feels their flicker through closed lids, hears it echo in the tight space behind his sternum. He loosens the top snap of his jacket, more to breathe than to rest, and counts the drag of pistons as though they were rounds he must survive. 32, 33. The engine backfires, 34. The layover light pops on. Passengers rise, stretch, tug luggage from racks that rattle like loose teeth. Ollie keeps his stance relaxed but weighted, a fighter's balance disguised as weary traveler. He watches reflections rather than faces, glass giving him the menagerie in reverse. The restless boy in an army surplus field coat fingering dog tags, the grandmother whose purse clinks with pill bottles, the lanky man in preacher's black who hasn't prayed once. E. Lyson, 2 rows ahead, smooths her uniform apron, hiding the tremor in her knuckles by adjusting the Pine Mart name tag. Her breath clouds the pain, and she writes 740 with a fingertip, underlines it twice, wipes it away when someone glances over. Outside the bus stop, sodium lamps cast an ochre lagoon across cracked asphalt. The depot is little more than a prefab shack, coffee windows shuttered, payphones dangling receivers like broken limbs. A sheriff's cruiser idles nearby. Vapor lifts off the hood, mingling with the smell of wet cotton fields. One deputy leans against the fender reading box scores, shotgun propped vertical between his boots. The other prowls the queue, asking for IDs under the guise of hurricane preparedness. Ollie feels the man's gaze skate over him, stall at the taped knuckles, then continue. A recognition without recognition, the way men sense threat yet cannot name it. E. Lyson steps onto the wet concrete and nearly slips. Ollie's hand shoots out, steadying her elbow before she topples. She offers a paper cup, lukewarm instant cocoa she bartered from the driver. Steam curls between them. Key's all I got left, she whispers, so soft he might have dreamt it. Room 233 above the store. If the crate shows by 8, they say my brother gets the surgeon. If it doesn't... She doesn't finish. Instead, she nods toward the distant silhouette of Pine Mart's billboard, its neon cowgirl flickering in the rain like a phantom lassoing darkness. The depot clock stutters, losing seconds each minute. Ollie notes the glitch. Such timepieces betray when schedules have been tampered with. He pockets the observation alongside every other thread. Razor-etched labels, Ray Norton's chalk list, recorded threats, the phantom named Ripper. All roads converge on that store, and on whatever milk crate is due to explode metaphorically or otherwise at dawn. A payphone rings. No coin drop, no dialing, just rings. The deputy stiffens, hand drifting toward his belt, but makes no move. Ollie answers. A voice processed through cloth and distance rasps. Deliver the ampoules to the walk-in cooler. Slide them behind the orange juice. 40 minutes, or the girl's brother bleeds out on the table. And Champ, leave town blind. The line goes dead. Nickel clinks as the machine spits it back like a cheap laugh. Headlights bloom down the service road. A white cab, no trailer markings, fishtailing on the mud shoulder before straightening. Its air horn blares 3 descending notes, rail yard code for unauthorized stop. Ollie steps into the rain, senses weight shift among the crowd. The army coat boy sidles away, now clutching a narrow wood case, too carefully for it to be just a guitar. The preacher murmurs scripture, voice lacking conviction. Even the deputy pretends not to see. The truck brakes hiss, rear doors bang open though the chassis is barely stationary. Two men in vinyl ponchos haul down a pallet wrapped in burlap and plastic. Stenciled across the side, crooked and hurried. "Dairy, handle cool." Condensation trails off, but it's too cold for a milk run. Freon mist escapes like dragon breath, swallowing their boots. Ali notes the driver's cap, Cotton River Pharmaceuticals, the same logo stamped on the fake labels. No siren, yet tension screams louder than any patrol car. Ali strides forward, arms loose, palms up so no one can claim aggression. "That crate's mine," he says, voice pitched to carry but not provoke. The nearest poncho drawls, "Ain't your name on it, friend?" Ali smiles, a quick flash of teeth, as if remembering an inside joke. "Check the manifest." He produces the doctored shipping sheet Ray Norton died securing, the ink barely dry. Rain dots the paper, smudging signatures, but the critical line, M. Ali, Special Pediatric Fund, remains legible. One poncho hesitates. The other flicks a box cutter, steel glint under orange light. The standoff marinates in humidity. From behind, Elison laughs, a brittle sound, cracks wide open. She holds up her store key between thumb and forefinger. "He's the donor, y'all. Let's get these on the shelf before my shift starts." Her voice quivers but does not break. She is gambling everything on performance, and Ali matches her bet without blinking. The ponchos share a look. Job beats conscience, but only if the timetable holds. They slide the pallet jack forward, grudging. Ali grips the splintered handle, helps guide half a ton of contraband toward the back of the loaded semi where a forklift waits. Hydraulic whine rises, shakes the puddles. In that moment of shared labor, he learns the weight distribution, counts the shrink wrap layers, measures distance to the road, calculates velocity required to topple the load into the ditch should things sour. A cough of thunder. Power in the depot gutter flickers, dies. Darkness swallows lampposts, leaving lightning as sole strobe. Reflex memory of ring walks floods his muscles, move when the flash blinds others. He pivots, heel slick on tar, yanks the pallet sideways. Plastic screams, wood splinters, boxes spew onto gravel. Ampoules burst, chemical scent sharp like artificial cherries. One poncho curses, dives. The box cutter man swings. Ali slips inside the arc, drives shoulder to sternum, controlled shock that folds lungs but spares ribs. The blade clatters harmless. Chaos. Passengers scatter. The deputy's shotgun finally barks skyward, pellets rattling the semi's mirror. He yells for order no one will follow. Ali kneels, scoops shattered ampoules into the thermos from the freight wagon, glass slicing calloused fingers, liquid sizzles against steel walls. He snaps the lid, spins, finds Elison. She's frozen by headlights, rain streaking her mascara like war paint. He thrusts the thermos into her palms. "Room 233. Fridge on high. Chain the door." She nods, begins to run. A horn wails from the highway. State trooper convoy inbound. Someone tipped them. Ali turns to the poncho still gasping on his knees. "Tell Ripper," he says. "The child dosage just got moved offshore." Then he sprints, lungs rasping, toward the trestle bridge flanking the depot, a skeleton of rivets over Black River water. Behind him, sirens swallow the night. Ahead, rails gleam, and a freight train approaches from the south, its single headlamp slicing fog like destiny on schedule. Ali lengthens stride, each footfall a drumbeat that drowns the clamor of a town about to wake to scandal, and as his boots leave the embankment, he feels the old ring again beneath him, yielding, dangerous, but his. Steel shrieks under his soles as the boxcar ladder rattles, cold rungs numbing palms already sliced by glass. Ali drags himself atop the flat car, just as the Missouri Pacific Freight thunders onto the trestle, the river yawning below like a dark verdict. Wind slaps his wet jacket flat against muscle. Diesel fumes burn the sinuses, mingling with the copper taste that seeps from the cuts. He sprawls beside a tarpaulin-wrapped crate, heartbeat syncing with the rhythmic clank of wheels over joints. Talk, talk, talk. A slow count-out he refuses to lose. Lightning gives brief X-ray glimpses of the convoy behind. Red cherries of patrol cars bouncing off tree lines, unable to match the train's momentum. Safe for the moment, yet stranded. The next sighting lies 30 miles south at an abandoned grain elevator. He rips a scrap of tarp, ties it round the worst gash, then fishes the mini transistor from his pocket, twists the dial until a whisper emerges. A late-night trucking channel. Between weather bulletins, a coded phrase crackles. Milk run delayed. Rooster heading for roost. That is Ripper's crew confirming the depot fiasco and rerouting the remainder of the stolen pediatric stock. Destination, Slocum River Barge Yard, midnight. Ali checks the luminous dial of his bicentennial Timex, 11:12 p.m. Train schedule from childhood memory tells him the grain elevator siding intersects a county road that snakes straight to Slocum. He exhales through clenched teeth, already plotting how long his legs can maintain fight pace after the jump. A cough breaks his focus. He pivots. From behind the crate rises a scrawny railroad brakeman, maybe 20, mud-brown overalls soaked through. The kid's name patch reads Cal. In his trembling hand, not a weapon, but a dented thermos identical to the one Ali surrendered to E. Lyson. Saw you bored, Cal mutters. Figured if the champ needs a ride, something real wrong's happening. He unscrews the lid. Strong chicory steam wafts out. No drugs, no tricks, just coffee. Ali sips, feeling warmth creep into knuckles. Cal pulls out a folded locomotive manifest, points at scribbles beside car 27B. Med goods. Couple of deputies loaded it quick before we rolled, he says. Paperwork smelled fishy, so I copied the switch codes. The kid's jaw quivers, but resolve steadies his voice. Ali studies the codes, shorthand directing the medical pallet to barge slip number 4. Ripper plans to float the diluted ampules downriver, sell them abroad, leave dead children and a tarnished Ollie behind. Thunder rolls again. The train begins to brake for the grain elevator. Ali clasps Cal's shoulder. You come with me. You burn your railroad badge. Cal shrugs. My cousin's lost a girl last winter to bad insulin. I'm already lit. Decision sealed. The train groans into the siding. Speed bleeds away. Ali and Cal swing over the side, splash into waist-high Johnson grass. Gravel shifts somewhere near the caboose. Flashlights sweep. Voices curse the sudden stop. No time to track pursuit. They sprint through the marshy field, shoes sucking mud, thunder now more distant than the pounding in ears. A 66 International pickup squats rusted at the elevator gate, keys dangling as though fate herself left ignition. Cal hotwires, engine turns over with a rattling laugh. Headlamps remain dark, only the dashboard's faint glow paints their faces green. They bounce onto the county road, tires spraying shale, rain eases into drizzle. Instead of lightning, refinery flares ahead glare orange in low clouds, marking the riverfront. Ali presses the transistor to the windshield, antenna extended. New chatter. Slip 4 primed, stevedores paid, package in 15. He twists volume low, memorizes voices. Cal guns the engine. Speedometer creeps past 60, windows fog from wet clothes. Ali draws deep, centers breath, visualizes ropes, canvas, the microgeometry of angles he has punched 1,000 times. Tonight, fists must dismantle more than a man. They must dismantle an enterprise. They crest a rise. Sodium lamps reveal Slocum's skeletal cranes, hulks looming like dinosaur spines above water. Sirens no longer follow. Police have diverted to the derailment ruse north. The pickup jerks to a halt behind stacked shipping containers. Diesel hum carries over river slap. Somewhere a lone saxophone bleeds from a tugboat radio. Blues drifting on oily breeze. Ali strips the torn tarp from his arm, flexes fingers until numbness yields. Cal hands him a rusted tire iron. Weight, poor balance, but edge enough. Ali shakes his head, picks a length of frayed mooring rope instead. I fight silent, he says, tying a double loop around knuckles. Cal nods, stuffs the iron into his belt. They move, shadows among shadows, toward slip 4, where a barge lamp throws a cone of light over stacks of labeled milk crates. Dock workers load them onto forklift pallets, unaware the medicine inside could render children comatose. At the foot of the ramp stands a broad-backed silhouette, raincoat collar up, cigar ember glowing. Ripper, finally unmasked by circumstance. He laughs with a port officer, counting envelopes. Ali breathes once, recalls Ray Norton's voice counting jab rhythms, and steps into the light. Ripper's cigar drops a bead of fire, tiny meteor that fizzles on damp planks, when Ali materializes from container shadow with the rope curled round his fist like a serpent. The dock boss's coat sleeve twitches toward a shoulder holster, but the champion's voice lands first, low, steady, carrying farther than any megaphone in the river haze. Touch that iron, you Barry kids. Forklift hydraulics sigh, unsure, the driver easing the tines to the deck, crates labeled Golden Babe Nutritional Supplement. Clatter. One splits, revealing ampules nested in straw, crystalline and lethal. A deckhand mutters a prayer in Spanish, crosses himself with a grease-black thumb. Rain returns as a fine mist, suspending every bulb's halo, spotting Ali's cheeks so no bystander can decide whether they see sweat or tears. Cal moves behind a bollard, pocket manifest rolled into a baton. He flicks a dock light switch. Nothing. Fuse box padlocked. Instead, he yanks the emergency fog siren wire. A bellow warps across the harbor, drowning human voices, rattling windows in shrimp shacks half a mile upriver. Perfect chaos. Ripper recovers, spits tobacco. The hero routine's done, Clay. You want a lifetime headline, or you want Drew Norton breathing tomorrow? He nods at a blue sedan idling under a sodium lamp. Inside, Drew slumps, wrists taped to steering wheel, face lit ghost orange. A narrow tube runs from the passenger vent to a Coleman stove on the seat. Turn the valve, carbon monoxide completes the transaction. Ali's diaphragm tightens like a winch. The boxing hall melts, only math remains. 12 paces to sedan, 6 men between, 5 armed with boat hooks or crowbars, 1 pistol. Rope in left, nothing in right, spread the line. First step explosive. He doesn't sprint, he glides, the old Louisville gym shuffle, forcing men to guess. The first docker lunges, hook aimed at ribs. Ali pivots, loops rope over the pole, yanks. Opponent slams chest first into railing, breath leaving like steam out of a kettle. Second guard brandishes a crowbar overhead. Ali's right hand thrusts, heel of palm striking trachea. No knockout glamour, just silence. Gunshot cracks. Splinters leap from piling. Ripper failed to wait. Ali drops, skids on knees, left shoulder howling from gravel scrape. Cal flings the forklift in reverse. Steel forks swing like a mechanical minotaur, smashing another goon sideways through fish crates. Shrimp cascade, hiss when they hit the dock lights. Shell casings ping. Ali rolls beneath a parked hand truck, counts beats between rounds. Ripper's trigger rhythm sloppy, nerves tyrannizing fine motor skills. When slide clicks empty, champion lunges, rope flicking out a loop that catches pistol wrist. A jerk, a twist learned from playground slingshots, and bones pop. Gun skitters into river with a plop, lost under foghorn echo. Ripper snarls, charges one-armed. Fist meets solar plexus, short, surgical. Exhale forced from lungs like bellows stomped. Ali's second strike, left hook, is mercy measured. Breaks jaw, but saves life. He doesn't stop to watch collapse. 3 strides to sedan, rope teeth sawing tape. Door flings, Drew half-conscious, coughs once, eyes roll clear. Ali rips stove hose, tosses canister into river. Chlorinated splash erupts. Police klaxons approach from highway spur. Cal waves manifest above head, yelling coordinates into a payphone receiver yanked from behind a bait shack. Siren crescendo promises new witnesses, new tape recorders, new accountability. Ali leans Drew against fender. The former sparring partner's lips crack but shape words. Knew you'd slip the clinch. Champion laughs, ragged, places forehead to friends. Behind them, forklift headlights reveal the stolen medicine, a glittering mountain of perverted goodwill. Union Port steward jogs over, mustache wobbling. Sheriff wants the hero quoted, he pants. Ali shakes head. Quote the kids who live. Red and blue strobes burst across water. Cal steps up, extends coffee thermos in shaky salute. Ali drinks, tastes rust, diesel, chicory, and possibility. He walks toward the pallet jack, begins lifting boxes one at a time, careful, deliberate, as rain finally stops, surrendering the dock to quiet punctured only by gulls arguing over fallen shrimp and the approaching stamp of justice boots. Before squad cars roll to a halt, he turns to Ripper, dazed on decking, and throws the rope beside him. Tie up what's left of your conscience, he says, voice soft enough that only River and Dawn seem to hear. The Pine Mart lot glitters like wet vinyl under a single flickering tube of purple neon. Ali palms a clipboard marked HVAC inspection, while Allison swipes her employee card. The rear latch clicks, letting them slip into the dim service corridor where compressors hum like restless bees behind drywall. Fluorescent ballast stutters overhead, throwing shards of light across polished concrete as they pass stacks of gallon milk jugs toward an all-night aisle that smells of bleach and ripening bananas. Inside the refrigerated section, breath turns to steam. Ali's gaze stalls on a waist-high pyramid of yogurt flats. One lid sits crooked. A thin red wire pokes through the foil seal, joined to a thumb-sized PCB taped under the rim. He lifts the carton. Beneath, a white plastic crate sits like a heart in a chest cavity. The cable snakes into it through a sliver drilled in the side. "That's the box," Allison whispers, voice fogging the air. "They told me it would arrive already tagged. I only had to scan and shelve it." Before Ali can answer, footsteps scuff linoleum. A trim man in a pastel shirt steps from the dry goods aisle, tie loosened, manager badge catching the freezer glow. "Evening, folks. Name's Deakins. Distribution audit." His tone carries no local drawl, more federal flatness. He flicks a pen light over Ali's ID and murmurs, "Trip a silent alarm and the payload arms." "Understand?" He nods toward a bubble lens camera above the butter display. On its split-screen feed, the county sheriff's squad car rolls to a stop beside the loading docks. Men with pump shotguns cluster behind pallet stacks, their outlines green in infrared overlay. Ali's pulse steadies. "Fire safety drill," he says aloud, projecting authority for any microphone. He slides a steel scale from his tool bag, setting it beside the crate. "Corporate wants overnight calibration." Deakins doesn't argue, only snaps gum and thumbs a stopwatch. Allison wipes condensation off the display as Ali eases gloved fingers under the crate handles. Weight sensor under the shelf ticks. Red LED blinks, but does not hold, fooled by the exact pressure of his scale pressing up from below. He tilts the container just enough to slide a dolly underneath. No siren, no detonation. They wheel the cargo toward the stockroom. Deacon steps ahead, killing power to the dairy case breakers, cover story for the cameras, and chains the gate as though sealing a maintenance zone. Steam coils up the darkened aisle. Customers on the far side mumble, inconvenienced but unaware. In the loading bay, Ollie lifts the lid. Instead of explosives, he finds a hollow aluminum mold the size of a shoebox and a manila envelope wedged inside. The flap bears Ray Norton's signature, the ink smudged by refrigeration. Allie slips the envelope open. A cashier's check, 6 figures, made out to Children's Cardiac Trust, Birmingham, memo line. Final round. A second sheet lists receipt numbers matching the stolen ampules from the railcar. Norton had bankrolled the ransom himself, hollowing out the bomb to buy bargaining time. Tires crunch outside. The sheriff barks orders. Ali shouts back, "Emergency drill, Sheriff. Evacuate shoppers to clear lane for hazmat." His voice, recognizable even through tin walls, makes deputies hesitate. Store employees, coached by Allison, usher sleepy patrons toward exits, fire alarm strobes coloring the mist. On the dock, Ali sets the crate into a chest cooler, packed with crushed ice for soft drinks. Sensors register 0 displacement. Panel light inside the store blinks confusedly, then dies. Deacons exhales for the first time. Sirens recede as deputies regroup, baffled. Allison fingers the brass key stamped 233, its edges digging half-moons into her palm. In the distance, she hears a payphone ringing, maybe fate calling collect, while the champion who just outboxed a bomb wipes frost from his eyebrows and looks at her as though the next round begins now. First silver washed across the parking lot, just as the fluorescent sign finally sputtered out, leaving the Pine Mart facade a gray silhouette against morning. A refrigerated semi hissed at the loading ramp. Its diesel heartbeat thumped through the thin metal dock plates, while uniformed state troopers, summoned after Allison's whispered ammonia alert, formed a bucket brigade of evidence. Mist billowed from every pallet they rolled inside the trailer. Cartons of stolen pediatric ampules stacked beside the hollow bomb mold, now packed in dry ice for the trip to a crime lab freezer in Jackson. The night's tension melted into puddles that reflected rotating beacons, red and cobalt, like miniature sirens sliding across the concrete. Sheriff Daltrey stood between 2 marshals, wrists cinched by bright stainless cuffs that didn't match his starched khaki. Dark crescents of sweat discolored his armpits. He darted a glance at Ali, equal parts fury and embarrassment, then spat tobacco juice that missed the champion's shoes by an inch. "You don't know what grants you just cost this county," he growled. The older marshal shook his head, tightening the grip on Daltrey's elbow. "Save it for the indictment, Sheriff." Allison emerged from the store vestibule clutching the brass key she had carried all night, its surface warm now despite the cool dawn. She looked smaller under the stark sky, exhaustion tugging at her shoulders, but there was a steadiness in her eyes that hadn't been there hours ago. Ali met her halfway, stepping over a broken bottle of chocolate milk a panic-stricken customer had dropped during the evacuation. Without theatrical flourish, he slid a folded cashier's check into her hand. 6 digits, and Norton's shaky signature peeked through the crease. She tried to speak. He cut her off with a soft shake of the head. "Hospital bills first, college later," he said. "Let money worry about itself for once." She opened the second slip of paper, scraps of Norton's notebook tape, mended together. "Strength ain't what you swing, kid. It's what you carry after you've been hit." She closed her fingers around both papers, swallowing a sob that came out instead as a half-laughing breath. A coroner's van arrived for Ray Norton's body, the doors groaning like theater curtains. Reporters converged, microphones sprouting on cables that still smelled of electrical tape. They expected a statement from the heavyweight legend about bombs, rackets, international drug fraud. Instead, he walked to the ice chest where the crate had spent its final minutes. A lab tech had removed the aluminum mold, leaving only a shallow bath of melting cubes and a cassette reel wrapped in waxed paper, one of several taped confessions Daltrey had tried to bury beneath refrigerated yogurt. Ali plucked the reel, feeling the magnetic ribbon flex beneath the wrapping. Camera zoomed, shutters stuttering like cicadas. He lowered the cassette into the slush. The oxide ribbon met water with a fizz, unspooling like black noodles before sinking out of sight. No speech, no dramatic condemnation. Just the quiet crackle of thawing ice, louder than any sermon on corruption. A highway patrol lieutenant approached Allison, returning the brass key. "Room 233's clear," he reported. "Kid was scared, but fine. Ambulance already headed to Birmingham Children's." Allison's shoulders sagged. Relief made her seem suddenly very young in the baggy store smock. She mouthed, "Thank you," then looked to Ali for permission to leave. He tilted his chin toward a squad car. An officer opened the rear door with unexpected gentleness. Morning swelled. Delivery trucks queued for routine shipments, drivers impatient to reclaim normality. Inside the cooling trailer, troopers slammed the big stainless latch. Frost plume shot from the gasket, curling around Ali's ankles before drifting away. He finally unwrapped his brittle hand wraps, the cotton stiff with freezer burn, and dropped them into a trash bin. White gauze hit metal with a dull thud. A television crew tried one more time. "Champ, any last word for America?" Ali adjusted the collar of his sweat-damp trench, gaze fixed somewhere beyond the lenses. "Words are cheap," he answered, voice barely above the compressor hum. "Put 'em on ice." He turned his back to microphone foam and walked toward the river road where the first barge horn moaned through fog, sounding, at least to one man who had spent a lifetime counting bells between rounds, like the faint but certain start of a brand new round. The neon Pine Mart sign flickers once more before plunging the loading dock into gloom. Wet asphalt reflects broken letters in shallow puddles, each rippling with distant red and blue emergency lights announcing the sheriff's arrival. Muhammad Ali slips through the service door beside a sputtering forklift, its horn echoing off steel racks heavy with milk crates. Allison trails 10 feet behind, clutching the brass key that still feels too warm in her palm. A single fluorescent bulb, hanging by frayed wires, buzzes and dies, leaving the refrigeration unit's vents whispering like restless ghosts. Inside the dairy aisle, Ali's eyes adjust to the gray haze of cooler air. He senses more than sees the contours of plastic yogurt tubs stacked shoulder high. He runs a fingertip along the edge of one container. Its lid pops slightly as if breathing. Beneath, he glimpses fine copper strands coiled around the rim, nearly invisible in the dim light. Allison edges forward, voice low. "That's the box. They wired it themselves." A pair of gloved hands grips the end of the aisle. The manager, tall, smooth-shaven, wearing a crisp shirt with the Pine Mart insignia, steps into view. He holds his flashlight at waist level, beam slicing through the cold vapor. "Routine calibration," he announces. "Check your credentials." His tone is calm, but the flashlight trembles. Ali offers a polite nod, eyes never leaving the manager's hands. In a reflex born of years in the ring, Ali reaches under his trench coat and produces a battered clipboard. "Fire safety inspection," he says. The manager's grin fades to a thin line. He shifts his weight, glances at a corner security camera perched on an overhead pipe. On its small screen appears the sheriff's cruiser idling outside, tires humming against wet concrete. The manager's voice drops to a whisper. "That cruiser's on its way in. If you pull that box out, an alarm will light up every console in the back office, and you'll see armed men in minutes." Ali tilts his head, as if pondering broken ceiling tiles. "I'm just here to verify weights," he replies, stepping forward. He slides his hand beneath the crate, feeling the cold metal of the hidden mold. The weight sensor groans but yields. Two warehouse staffers, new faces with fresh Navy uniforms, eye them from the far end of the aisle. One lifts a clipboard, the other thumbs a radio. Neither moves. Ali hoists the crate gently, inspecting its base. The copper detonator wires bend beneath his fingers, then release like springs. He tucks the wires into his coat pocket, revealing the empty shell inside. A polished aluminum form, too light to set off any blast. Allison exhales. The manager's eyebrows snap upward, but he does not reach for his radio. From the freezer section behind them, a low hum grows into a roar as troopers wheel frozen pallets into the trailer. Each forklift beep and lift of duty clang underscores the shifting balance of power. The manager swallows, voice hollow. You can't walk out with that. Ali chuckles softly. Sir, with respect, it's my training that lets us both walk out. He sets the shell atop a nearby utility cart. Then he produces a small handheld thermoelectric cooler, a personal icebox, places it under the crate, and flips a switch. Frost puffs around the mold like breath in winter, muffling its metallic gleam. Footsteps thunder down the aisle. The two uniformed troopers, carrying evidence tubs, pause at the head of the corridor. Allison steps in front of them, key in hand. Their captain, a barrel-chested man with mirrored sunglasses even in darkness, nods once. Go ahead, he says. His radio crackles faintly. Hold positions. Suspect's unsound device is inert. The manager flinches as the overhead speakers crackle with Allison's code phrase, a disguised signal to the local fire department, and two distant sirens answer back. He glances at Ali, helpless. Ali rolls the cart toward the exit, spokes of broken orange light dancing across his gloves. Behind him, the freezer doors slide shut with pneumatic sighs, and the neon sign sputters back to life as if Pine Mart itself blinks in resignation. In the parking lot, Allison throws the cooler into the back of a waiting panel van labeled Emergency Services. Ali steps around the front, blueprints and steam rising from his coat. He nods to her. Time to move. They vanish into the drizzle, just as a squad car barrels around the corner, lights ablaze. The manager leans out the sliding door, eyes wide as the cooler door thuds shut. Inside, the crate sits encased in steady frost, proof that a well-placed bluff, a racing heart, and a dash of improvisation can turn death's promise into nothing more than a chill in the air.